everybody. Welcome back to the Intuitive Life Coach. I am very aware that I have not had an episode in at least 2 weeks. My energy has been a little low, and I think that I've been really working through some release. And sometimes we might go through moments of that. No matter where you are on your healing journey, allow yourself time to align. If you're doing deep healing work, you may have days that you feel off or like you're a little more drained. And so it's okay to take breaks. And I mentioned this a couple episodes ago. And I think this time of year can be draining in general just by the demands that we have for the holidays. Thanksgiving just passed, Christmas is coming, New Year's, like all this stuff. And so I think we always have a little bit extra pressure on us this time of year. Maybe with being around family we're not normally around, or expectations to show up in certain ways. It's interesting how sometimes the people closest to us are the ones that can be the most draining. And so being able to protect our energy in those spaces is really important. And then allowing yourself time to readjust back into your own environment and clearing your energy. Make sure you're using some meditation and just aligning yourself back into your intuitive, insights and allowing your body to kind of adjust. So I wanted to share a little bit today about connecting with our intuition. And one particular thing that often can get in the way of this is people pleasing. So I've had a lot more people following me and watching me, and it's been interesting to have some conversations with people that are asking more questions about what I'm doing with my coaching and some of my courses. And what I'm finding is as I continue on my own healing journey, is to understand what boundaries I need to keep as far as my goals and what I share with people, because not everybody is going to be able to hold the same vision that you hold, because they don't hold the same energy that you hold. And I was talking to a new friend that I made yesterday and explaining to her about how everybody has a different perspective that they come into a relationship with or a situation. And it's all based on the current energy and frequency that they're on. And the way that I explained this was, when you haven't done much healing, or you haven't started a healing journey, you're kind of on level 1, where your frequency is kind of tuned into people that also have not done any healing. And then when you start the healing journey, the frequency starts to change a little bit, and there's going to be times where you feel off or you're not tuned in. And that's the in-between stage of like getting to the next station, like if you're turning the radio, where it's a little bit foggy, or there's static sounds or energy in that place. And then you make it to the next level and you tune in a little bit more. And on that level, you begin to align more with people that are also there, the ones that have done some work to get into that frequency level. And then as you keep moving forward, your frequency changes even more. In the spiritual community, you'll hear things about 3D, 5D, 8D, like all these things. And I don't know for sure, like everything I think and believe about that, but I do believe, and I have seen in my own life, how when we move into different phases of our life and we release things that have held us back in some areas, we really do change our energy, and people really have a hard time understanding us when we do that. And so if you're in a place where you're kind of in this like limbo of like, I feel like I'm losing people in my life, I feel like I don't align with people in my life anymore, like some of my friends and I aren't really seeing we don't see things the same anymore. That just is proof that you are healing and expanding and opening yourself up. And that's a good thing. I know that, I actually was watching a TikTok the other day, and this man mentioned that what is often not discussed on a healing journey is that you start to lose friends or lose contact with people in your life that maybe once were really important to you. And he made it sound really negative, like this is a really bad thing. And I do understand that this is really hard. It's hard to lose people, really. It really is. It's not I don't make light of that. However, what I also am learning is that when you heal, when you align your energy and you get to know yourself a little bit more, the people that are meant to come with you on that journey are going to, because they're going to want to do the work too. Like they're in that place of releasing the old and stepping into the new. And so I wouldn't worry too much about what you're losing, and maybe switch your mindset a little bit more to what you're gaining. Because if we're always looking back at what we lose, then we're never able to move forward to what we're gaining. I think about people that, not that I'm comparing myself to like a celebrity or anybody, but like I think about people that have made it big and how they've had to really be careful who they allow in their energy and who they support and who they help and who they spend time with. Because there are moments that, we're humans. We're going to be around all kinds of people, but we really can be more aware of who we allow in our energy that is going to help support us where we're meant to go in this life. And so, I remember listening to a podcast one time, and Oprah mentioned that she had family that would always ask for money, and how hard it was to set the boundary with them. Just because she had it didn't mean she had to give it to people that were not aligned with her or were kind of taking advantage of her. And, from the outside looking in, you're like, come on, you're rich, like give it away. But what is interesting about her saying this, and what I agree with, is that those who are actually willing to put in the work to align and to receive from somebody that's already done the work, there is a difference between giving to those type of people and those who are just taking. And that's the same thing with energy. Like, I am pretty picky about the clients I work with and the alignment that I have with them, because I have full awareness. Everybody's on a different level of their healing. But if somebody's not willing to do their own inner work, their own healing outside of like an hour session that we have each week, then I know that there's not an energy exchange of what I put in and versus what they put in. So if I'm going to, put my energy into your healing, then I want you to put your energy into your healing too, because that's what this is, I'm hoping to support you in. Because we can't always just ride on other people's progress or benefit from what they're doing. At some point, we have to take the reins and we have to actually drive it. We have to be the one in the driver's seat of our own life and not kind of tagging along with what is going on in other people's lives. And so this kind of leaves us in a place of like, who is coming with me and who is not? And how do you protect that place of aligning with that? And, it's a different position when it's like an intimate friendship or a family or things like that versus like a client relationship. So those are completely different. However, I have many clients that I am friends with, or I have been friends with, or I have become friends with after we have worked together. And the reason for that is because they put in the energy of the work and they are aligned with me at this point. And so when I share something with them, they understand it on the level that I share it. I don't have to kind of pull myself back down into that lower frequency to help them understand where I am. They've already done the work to align. And so I have found that even though there's some grief in some of the relationships that are no longer aligned with me, that I have to really focus on the positive and see what good things are coming out of it. And the really, I think the amazing thing about healing is that you begin to release the need to be seen and heard by people that can't see or hear you. So it's not like a battle. You don't become upset. You don't become angry when people don't get you. You just understand, oh, they're on a different frequency. This is where my healing has taken me. And you release it. You let them be where they are. It doesn't mean you don't love them. It doesn't mean you don't support them. It just means that you are able to protect yourself a little bit more from going backwards, I guess, which I think happens a lot when, when I first started healing, I found myself still really much wanting, like, finding my value in how other people saw me or in the relationships around me. And so I'd find myself compromising in my actions when I would be around certain people. And they would be activities that I would not normally do on my own or with people that are aligned with me. And as I continue to heal, I have been able to set more boundaries, but it gets harder to set that boundary when you are around somebody that hasn't done the work and does not understand where you are. Like, I have a friend that, like, I rarely drink alcohol. Rarely. Like, maybe once every, I don't even know, 5 to 6 months. And it's interesting when I get around friends that are still very much into that scene, and that's how you have fun. You go drink and you party and do that stuff. Like, they really don't understand me and why I choose not to. And it's because I understand that my energy is depleted when I engage in those activities and I'm not my best self. And I want, not that we're always going to be perfect and we're always going to be aligned with our highest self, but I don't want to compromise myself in a way that I am not being authentic to me, I guess is what I'm saying. And so when I do engage in an activity with somebody that maybe is on that level or is still enjoying those things for themselves, I have to be really careful about why I'm doing it and who it's with. And if I am abandoning my own boundaries and my own self to fit in with other people, then that is a problem. So allowing yourself to release this need to people please and to make sure other people feel okay all the time will allow you to get more in touch with your intuition and hear from your spirit about what is right and what is not for you and what is aligned in your highest good and what is not. And it doesn't mean you don't allow yourself to go into those moments where, you maybe, there's always going to be a compromise in some aspect, but there's boundaries that you can set of this is how far I will compromise and this is how far I will go. And I think the more you heal, the more you understand that your value and your worth is not based on how somebody else perceives you, how they project onto you, how they are influenced, how they feel around you. Like, you begin to understand that it's their energy they're holding. It's not yours. And so, and I tell my clients this a lot, like, when you are seeing something in another person and it triggers you, that usually means that you hold that same energy within you in some aspect. And when you start to heal, you realize that when that trigger happens, you are more able to set the boundary around it, and to, instead of reacting to that trigger, you respond to it in a different way. And it feels really empowering to be able to hold your space, like hold space for other people, yet hold your boundary on how far you will allow yourself to compromise, I guess. And so when you find yourself in a situation where you're being asked to do something, or you're like, a person is wanting to be around you, or there's an activity or event, whatever it may be for you, take some time and listen to your spirit, listen to your intuition, meditate on it. A lot of times what we tend to do is, and maybe I'm just speaking for myself, but in my old energy where I was really concerned about how I was seen and viewed by others, if I got asked to do something, I wouldn't hesitate for a second. Even if I didn't want to do it, I would do it anyways, because I felt like my value came from being accepted or invited or seen in a certain way by people. And so I would give in, and I would do things without even thinking about my own boundary or how I felt, how my energy felt. And so what I got invited to do something this within the last 24 hours with somebody I have not talked to in a long time. And my first instinct was, why? That was my first question, was why? And I found myself wanting to respond right away. And instead of responding, I allowed myself to take time and to go inward and think about what it was that I felt safe doing in my own energy, what boundaries I had in this relationship, and if it was for my highest good to go ahead and meet with this person. And after, I slept on it overnight. I meditated on it in the morning. I let myself just really marinate in that energy a little bit. And after a while, I started to feel more peace about the response. And what was interesting is when I finally did respond and say, sure, let's get together, I didn't do it in a way of like panic or fear, or like I needed to protect myself, I guess. I did it in an energy of my own safety. Like there wasn't any fear in my response. It was a response of, I am staying in my own energy. I'm in my own boundary, and these are the topics in the discussion I will not cross when I meet with this person, and I will not allow myself to compromise that. Because what I've found is, even in sharing goals or dreams with people, like they kind of look at you like, that's crazy. And then you share it with other people who are aligned with you, and you're like, absolutely, you're going to do it. I can see it, that's amazing. And it's always interesting to know where somebody is based on their own healing and how they respond to you. And so don't share things with people who are not going to encourage you, because what is the truth is the only way we fail at something is when we don't try. So if you do try something and you do fail, that's just a way to learn. And it's not you're not failing, you're learning. And then the ones who have healed or found that strength in themselves can get back up and try again and just do it a different way, or, whatever you learned from that first time. So setting your boundaries and holding space for where other people are and let them be there, but you stay in your own energy, will allow things to flow much easier. But you can't hear from your own intuition when you are trying to please another person, when you're trying to make sure they are okay, because that is when you compromise your own self and you open up yourself to toxic energy. Not that the other person is toxic, but you allow yourself to release your own, like you let go of the safety and trust of your own intuition and your own self and your own boundary. And I will tell you, before I started my healing journey, like I didn't learn about boundaries growing up. I didn't know what a boundary was. My boundaries were violated all the time. The way I understood love was by violation of boundaries. And so when I began to like discover boundaries in my 20s and 30s and then now in my 40s, I went through this journey of I was terrified of boundaries because it meant rejection, it meant abandonment, it meant I wasn't loved, it meant all these negative things. And as I've healed, I've begun to understand that boundaries are safety for me and the other person. It's not a way of pushing people away. It's actually a way of building authentic safety in a relationship where when you understand somebody's boundary and you respect it, they feel safe with you. And so this has been a long, hard journey for me, coming from a childhood full of violations and rejection and abandonment and all that, to being more understanding and actually having my own boundaries, which I never had prior. And I think this is an ongoing journey because especially if you've been through any kind of hard trauma or you've experienced anything where you don't understand the truth about a boundary, setting this is hard. And I mean, this can come from anything. I mean, it could be your job even, like saying no and letting them know, I'm not going to work overtime. I'm not, this is my boundary. I will do it, when I can, but I'm not compromising my space and time for you, basically. It's not that you're rejecting them. It's that you are making sure that you show up as your best self when you are there. And so, because if we overextend ourselves, then we can't show up as our best self all the time, which I have learned the hard way, especially in job settings. So, the most important thing in this is to learn to be silent, to learn to allow space and time, and to not react quickly or not respond quickly or to jump into something prior to checking in with yourself. And for me, I always encourage meditation to do that, being silent, allowing yourself to really get in touch with your intuition. And if you have a hard time with that, just be patient. It will come eventually. But when you get to know your energy, when you get to know how your body feels, you'll notice when you have resentment, when you give in to something. And you'll notice when you have peace. And you'll notice when you have compromise. And you'll notice when you are like, you'll start to see the difference between, if I share this with this kind of person, this is how they react. If I share this with this person, this is how they react. So you begin to understand those boundaries of where people are and situations are and events or whatever. And you know what boundary to set and which energy that is in and how to align, like make sure that you stay aligned with yourself as you are in that, if that makes sense. Hopefully it does. Anyways, so I have just felt led to share that as, we are all facing the holidays now. We're all about to spend time with people that we likely never see. But then you get in this space and you're like, what's interesting is to me, and I don't see anybody for like a whole year, and then we get together for a holiday and they want to like, so what have you been up to? How are you doing? Like how all this stuff. And I feel like my energy just kind of like a shield comes up and I'm like, I don't want to tell you anything about what I'm doing. And this is where those really awkward conversations happen where you just kind of like, well, I'm just working, or I just, just living my life. And then it just kind of moves on. And in some aspect, I don't know that the other person's actually wanting a real answer, but be careful on what you share, because it's okay to have boundaries. It is okay. Take time, slow down, allow yourself to respond and not react. Get to know your own intuition, your spirit, and that's going to help you feel healthy and aligned even when you're in compromising situations. So I hope this helps as you all move forward. I know that I'm going to be working on this as well. And of course, you're welcome to reach out to me. I do have a new platform you can reach me at. I am on heal.me. Just type it in on the web, like internet, and you can look for me. I am under the Intuitive Life Coach, Angie Harris, and I would love to work with you. I do have a free discovery call that you can do with me, so you're welcome to set that up as well. So I wish you all the best day, night, evening, whatever time it is for you. I send you all the universal love that there is. Namaste.